So the weather, obviously Arizona is a desert, Illinois is not. Everyone knows Arizona's hot, but do you really know how hot it is here? So for example, this year, 2024, Phoenix heat wave broke records with 80 days of temperatures over 110, which is more than the previous record set the year before of only 55 days. Also, a 113-day streak of 100 degrees or more. So make sure you are prepared for that if you're trying to make the move to Arizona and you're from the Midwest, like I am from Peoria, Illinois. And I knew it was hot here, but did I really know it was going to be that hot? Now, one thing to also keep in mind, it is a dry heat. I know everyone says dry heat. It does make a difference, but when it's 110, 120 degrees, does it really make a difference? I mean, it's still an oven. Now, I look at right now, it's 57 degrees, November 7th. Absolutely gorgeous, nice and sunny. Illinois, it's probably still nice.
Clear and 61 degrees.
Thank you, Siri. No one asked you. Quiet. And also this summer temperature, Arizona 2024, hottest on record, average daily temp of 99. Now, did I know that? Well, I knew it was hot, but I really didn't know. I'd only been to Arizona one time prior before deciding to move here. And yeah, it was hot, but I recommend if you're not prepared for that, you have some uncertainty, come visit during multiple seasons to understand, will you enjoy it or will it just be miserable? So yeah, it's warm, but I still would trade this warmth over those gray Illinois days. And speaking of gray, looking around, this is sunny blue skies. Usually I never even check the weather report. I just know it's gonna be sunny and clear. And when I've gone back to visit back in central Illinois, and you don't realize when you're there, it's like those gray, cloudy days, and they suck. Being here in the sun, I love every bit of it, even on those 120 days. However, I don't go hiking during those times, so I'm glad the weather's changed, then now we can get into it. Something also to consider, and something I really didn't put a lot of, thought into. I knew it was gonna be more expensive here for homes. I knew where I lived, my home was so much more affordable than what it is here in Arizona. So the cost of living when it comes to purchasing and renting is definitely more than it was in central Illinois. Now, if you're coming from the Chicagoland, probably not gonna see that. Also, taxes here are much lower, but getting into some numbers. So the average home price in 2024 year to date is $636,849 with a median of $475. Now, last year in 2023, the average was $607,000, median of $459. So prices have continued to rise, even what most thought was a down market with interest rates also rising. Now in Gilbert, where I live currently, the average sales price this year in 2024, $710, median $605, and a year ago it was $643 and $570. Now where I came from, I'm gonna keep walking here. Our home was 4,700 square feet on 3 acres in a lake, and we sold for $305. But my taxes were $8,000. Here, a $500,000 home, your taxes are, probably $2,000 depending on where you're at in the valley. So the cost of living when it comes to home. Now, if you want to rent, say, 3-4 bedroom home and you're in Gilbert like I am, you're probably gonna be spending $2,500 to $3,000 depending on the neighborhood. So again, something to consider is the home prices are going to be, well, that is what they're going to be. I don't know if they're going to be higher or lower depending on where it is you're coming from. Also, coming from central Illinois, it was cheaper to go out to eat, cheaper for everything. But again, central Illinois, extremely affordable and really doesn't take a lot of money to live there. But here in Gilbert, everything's a little bit more expensive. Now, if you're coming from California, Chicagoland, I think you'll find the prices here to be cheaper, especially for gas, groceries. Groceries everywhere are expensive. But again, it's not something I really put a lot of thought into because it wasn't the top priority for me. I knew things were gonna be more expensive and what I'd be giving up, what I'd be getting. So in my eyes, I would rather have a smaller home. I don't need a 4,700 square foot home, but I'd rather have a smaller home, pay a little bit more to call Arizona home versus a bigger home in Illinois for less, albeit more taxes. So to me, the trade-off was worth it. Next is kind of like the lifestyle changes. So where I came from, a little slower. You know, Peoria has 100,000 people, the Tri-County area, maybe 400,000. I kind of lived in the country, and there's just not as much to do, which feels like everyone goes a little bit slower. You go to the same couple restaurants, same few stores, but here, especially Gilbert, there's just expanding and growing so much. I feel like it's just busier, more active. Now you can look at that as a good thing or bad thing. I like it, but there's also times where I just want to go find a dirt road, get away from people, and kind of just be, you know, on my own, left alone. Good thing is you can find that in Arizona. There's plenty of places like that. But again, being in a larger metropolitan city where there's maybe 5 million or so people here in Phoenix Valley, it wasn't something I would say prepared for, but definitely nothing I really put much thought into. So if you don't want to be busy and you don't want to have a lot of people around and development and growth, choose wisely on where you're moving to in the Valley, if you're moving to the Valley. And when I say moving to Arizona, there's so much more than just Phoenix. I think a lot of people think Phoenix when they talk Arizona, because that's mainly what I'm speaking about, because that's the area I live, it's the area I work in, that's where my clients call me to come buy a house at. So, you know, the lifestyle, change of pace, that kind of thing. So it's definitely a busy spot, a lot of growth here. Now, I like to stay active, and the good thing about Arizona is there's always something to do. One, there are gyms on every corner, so if you want to get outside and be active, you can find any type of gym, no matter if you're into Pilates, yoga, CrossFit, bodybuilding, powerlifting, whatever it is. You want to be active, be healthy, this is the place to do it. But I also like to get outdoors. And right now I'm walking in my neighborhood in Power Ranch, and there's 26 miles of sidewalk, walking paths, just like this. But there's also so many different mountain ranges and parks you can go to. So I go to Santan Mountain Regional Park quite often. I was just at the Salt River hiking last week, checking out wild horses. People were fly fishing. So if you want to get outdoors, stay active, that would be, if I ever had to move and go back to Central Illinois, that'd probably be what I missed the most. And I knew that was out here, but before I lived here, I really didn't grasp it. I really didn't know how close and how accessible, you know, the mountains, the parks, everything like that was. So it's awesome, and you don't have to be in great shape. I take my daughters there all the time. It's really just nice to get outdoors. Obviously, use caution. If it's 110, 120, maybe it's best that you just stay inside. Now, I know I mentioned about the growth out here, and I don't think I really understood it before I got here, but there are so many people moving here. And a lot of people may look at that as a good thing. Some people may look at that as a bad thing. I know I'm gonna get the comments. What about the water? Where are you getting the water? Hey, I'm not the one making these decisions, but there's so many new developments, so many new builds out here. So a lot of my clients, they love new builds, especially with the high interest rates. So they're choosing to go the new build route because of the incentives these builders are offering. You know, with 3.99% interest rates at this time, closing costs, tons of things like that. One thing I highly, highly advise, if you're buying a new home, any home really, but specifically a new home, get a home inspection. Please, you will thank yourself for spending the $500 or $1,000, whatever it's gonna cost you to get that done. But that growth and development was not something really I was expecting. It wasn't something I was used to. We didn't have new build communities popping up all over. Again, you may look at it as a bad thing or a good thing, but it's just the growth and development. Like I mentioned earlier in the video, like the way home prices continue to rise, even when everyone was telling me, oh, the market's gonna crash. Well, we're just not seeing that. But I love just how much there is to do. And I know I mentioned the hiking, but we go to the aquarium, my daughters love that. We'll go to the zoos and even different festivals, parks in the community. You don't have to drive forever. But what I also like is it's still relatively close. You know, it's a 5-6 hour drive to San Diego. You're going to Rocky Point, Mexico, drive to Vegas. But we also have the Phoenix International Airport, so pretty much connect you anywhere. Again, I live in Gilbert, so we have the Mesa Gateway and a place like Allegiant, fly me right back direct to Peoria, Illinois. So there's something to think about. Now, I'm not trying to say this is just a why you should move to Arizona video, but what I really didn't understand before I moved here, or things I didn't think of. Also, just when it comes to the valley, how spread out it really is. So you don't want to maybe work in Surprise and live in Santan Valley. That commute would drive you absolutely insane. And it's, speaking of driving, people here cannot drive. Yesterday I was just driving in Scottsdale and literally came right upon a rollover accident. Someone pulled out in front of someone else, and it happens all the time. We have wrong way drivers on the interstate. I don't understand how people are gonna drive the wrong damn way on the highway. It makes no sense. I was a cop for 13 years, and the things I've seen here on the road, I've never seen. People are absolutely nuts. I don't know, maybe people are always in a hurry. You have people from all over who just can't figure out how to drive. I don't know. Also, sometimes people just aren't as friendly here as they are in the Midwest. And there's a real thing about being Midwest nice. I hold the door for people. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Please. You're welcome. And I'm not saying everyone here is rude, but definitely not the same. It's funny. I was telling someone, even when I was a cop, I remember like gang members, shooters would hold the door and say thank you back in back in Illinois. And here I can't get, the rich soccer mom to hold the door for me. So it's just, maybe it's where you're raised. Maybe they could learn some lessons. So all in all, I wouldn't change anything. It's just what I've experienced in my years of living here compared to the Midwest. And I love it. If you have questions, please reach out. Do some research though, especially on that weather part. I had a client moved here from up north, and I don't think they really grasped it, but they were also here for the hottest parts of the year. So they're here for 3 months in the summer, and they realized they don't like the heat. And then they moved after only living here for a short time. Like, that sucks, because you're not gonna do well financially selling your house that quick. So, and plus just the time and energy. But do your research when it comes to moving on the big things that are important to you. And yeah, if you have any other questions, reach out. But make sure you watch this next video, and I'll see you next time.